Jackie has extensive experience with PebblePad, and she's going to share some of that with you now. So we'll aim to get to 4 o'clock, Colin can close it, and then if there are any sort of continuing conversations, we'll take that from there. Okay, so thanks, Jackie.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. Is that all right? Can you hear me at the back?
Yeah.
And I'll try and keep it quick because I know we've all talked ourselves to death and my voice might not hold out much longer. But I must say, from listening to the presentations today, I've really tuned into a lot of the things you were saying. I've been running a clinical assessment document for midwives for the last 4 years, and a lot of the things you were saying rang true for me. But what I want to talk about this afternoon is more about what the students are saying from using PebblePad as its original intention, I think, which was as a self-development tool, and that's what I want to talk about today. So in the context of this is a faculty-wide interprofessional module. So all our first-year students from across the Faculty of Health Studies, that's nursing, midwifery, physiotherapy, radiography, sports rehab, occupational therapy, I think that's it. They all get together for this module right at the beginning of their health professional career. And they get together once a week for interactive activities in teams of 10, and one tutor has 2 teams to manage. So it's quite a personalised system. But and then they continue to talk to each other about their experiences in placement and their experiences on their course through the Atlas conversations set up, because they're already in groups, so they have individual Atlas conversations automatically. So the assessment for this module is a portfolio of personal development, and in order to get feedback, robust feedback on what the students thought about the module and using an e-portfolio, we made evidence of completing the module evaluation part of the things they had to put in the portfolio for assessment. So it's still an anonymous evaluation, but in our student record system, students get a little spreadsheet that shows them which module evaluations they've completed, and they take a screenshot of that and put that in their portfolio so that we know that they've completed it. So because of this, there is a high completion rate, still not 100%, but I have got sort of between 79 and 88% completion rate, which the university would be very pleased if we got that sort of response rate for the NSS. But anyway, and it's a generalised form, but you can add specific module questions to the university form, and it's very similar to the NSS in that it presents students with a statement that they agree with, either strongly agree or don't at all agree. But they can also add qualitative comments, and it's surprising how many qualitative comments students do add. For this module that's got 360 students in, I think I've got about 19 sheets of student comments to kind of analyse at the end of it. So it started in 2011. That's a tale in itself. We started with PebblePad Classic and then had to quickly readjust everything to move to PebblePad 3 in 2012. But we started with these questions, and these were really what, from me thinking about, well, what do I think the students are getting out of this module that's different from other modules that they might be taking on their programmes. So I asked them, the module helped me develop skills in creating an e-portfolio, and the module helped me develop friendships across personal boundaries. I think I had meant to put professional boundaries, but it came out as personal, and I just left it like that. It seemed to work. Okay. So these are the kind of results just in the quantity over the 3 years. And you can see gradually over the 3 years, this is for I'm only focusing today on the e-portfolio question. The module helped me develop skills in creating an e-portfolio. That there's most of the students agreed with that statement, and the number of students agreeing with that statement went up year on year. And I think that's partly explained by the fact that e-portfolios in themselves were a new concept in 2011, and they've gradually become more mainstream, so students were more familiar with them. And also the staff got used to what we were trying to achieve in this module, because I was working with a team of 17 staff across all 6 professional groups, and they came with different ideas about, you know, what learning and teaching was and what assessment was. So gradually, as we got used to the module, the feeling for students is that they are learning about what an e-portfolio is. For this year's module, I kind of felt I needed to revamp these questions, because I think it's not just about creating an e-portfolio. What the student comments were about reflective writing, really. And I think that's something that PebblePad really helps students to grasp through the templates and you know, through creating their own portfolio. So I did change the comments for this year. And I think that reflects the kind of self-development issue. So just leave that. So the 2 questions I asked this year were: completing the workbook helped me develop reflective writing and referencing skills, and overwhelming agreement with that. And formative feedback on my workbook helped me understand how to improve my work. And that's something that I think is a key tool in PebblePad, that you can create a feedback template that attaches to the portfolio that students can access quite easily. So we were assessing this module in January as a formative piece of work, and giving them standardised question feedback: what did you do well, what not so well, how could you improve your work, and giving them a kind of a provisional grade, if you like, so that they would know how they could improve that grade for the summative. And that kind of interaction, I think, between tutor and student at that point is one of the key things that PebblePad can really do well. So I wanted to see whether students agreed with that, and overall they did. So you can see then that what we were trying to achieve in the module from the student evaluations, it seems we were successful with the majority of students. But if you sort of talk to somebody in the University of Bradford that doesn't know much about PebblePad, and you mention PebblePad, there's, ooh, students don't like it, do they? No, students don't like it. And I think, well, where's your evidence for that? You know, overwhelmingly, students seem to be using it really well. And so I think it's important to kind of look at the sort of feedback that I'm getting on this module from students using PebblePad, but then we'll also look at the other side and the students who don't like it and make a big fuss about not liking it. What can we do to help them, you know, overcome their anxieties about using it? So I'm just going to show you this for you to read. This is one of the strengths that I think of PebblePad, in when you sort of let students a little bit loose with it. We've been talking today a lot about frameworks and filling in frameworks, but I think it's important to remember that it can be a tool for students to reflect on their own development. So these are sort of the comments that I've got. As I say, there were about 19 pages of comments, but this was kind of a flavour of some of them. Is that okay to move on? Yeah. And then the group conversations, students really appreciated the way that they could maintain contact easily with their group in the group conversations. And they were sharing things about, you know, a student midwife might have explained how she, you know, learned to palpate the pregnant abdomen and was telling the group about that. Student physio might have been saying about how they did a massage, and so they got the flavour of each other's programmes through talking on Atlas. They were obviously told about maintaining confidentiality and not disclosing names and things, but they could still share quite a lot of information. And then I think some students really saw it as an effective tool for managing their learning, you know, being able to link things in and keep their learning organised. and they reflected on the activities that they'd done in their group situations, but then they were able to apply that when they went into practice and reflecting on things that they did in practice, and so they were pushing that reflection a bit further, because doing reflection, I think, is one of the hardest things to teach students, and to get them to practice it through sort of, you know, stage managed experiences to start with and then moving into practice, I think really was quite strong. So all those things are really good, and I've got pages and pages of really good feedback. I don't want to end on a downer, but I think we ought to just see what some other students are saying, and why is it that some students don't get it, and what can we do about it. I think I'd like your ideas on that on a postcard. So the feeling that it's complicated, and I don't think it is complicated, but like somebody was saying about mentors, just logging in and choosing a workspace and finding their students' work is complicated to somebody that doesn't do that on a regular basis and has a phobia about IT. And I think that this is coming out in some of this. To be fair, they used to be a lot more aggressive and angry in the first year. They've settled down a bit now. I think now it's just anxiety. So I see this as an improvement on some of the comments I've had in previous years. So complicated systems. So the advice to keep it as simple as we can is key. You know, start simple and build up your student skills. And even when you start simple, there'll still be some that complain, and all you can do is try and put extra support in. And this is another thing that came up, not enough support. And some students, no matter how much support there is there, they'll always want more. But I think you know, we should be investing more in our first years and really giving them the skills so that they can manage more as independent learners in second and third years. And I think PebblePad is a tool that we can use to help us do that. Yeah. So, summary. I've been quite quick, Debbie. So I think a portfolio assessment is authentic and engaging for most students. And it certainly, you know, like somebody was saying, it makes the academics' life easier. I would hate to be managing a module of 360 students with 17 members of staff if I hadn't got PebblePad to help me, and I can find the students' work really easily just by knowing the name at the touch of a button. So I think it's really good for that, and for managing formative feedback through the feedback templates. Excellent. But a significant number do find the system confusing, and this is compounded by limited staff time and limited staff skills. So I think it's key that we get, you know, all staff able to use it and advise students at least on the basics of using PebblePad. But staff's anxiety seems almost equivalent to student anxieties. Instead of a personal tutor saying, well, bring me your module handbook and we'll work through what you have to do together, they say, oh, I don't know anything about PebblePad, you'll have to go to somewhere else. You know, and that's just not good enough, I think. Staff need to understand these systems. But I think this anxiety that students have about PebblePad is really a deflected anxiety. It's not really about the system. It's about what we're asking them to do. We're asking them to be creative, to talk about themselves, to, you know, not to be regurgitating information that they've been given elsewhere. And I think our current secondary education system and access systems at the moment encourage that approach, that the tutor knows best, and listen to the tutor and they'll tell you what you need to know and how to tell it back again. We're saying, no, this is what you have to do. We want to know about you, and they find that ultimately very challenging. And finally, I think we can use formative feedback to encourage these students to say, yes, this is really good, but you can improve it by doing this, and to, you know, to build that into our portfolio assessments and all assessments, really. And I think PebblePad's a very useful tool for doing that. So thank you for listening. I've just given you 5 minutes, Colin. Okay.
I just wonder if there's any questions, which I think I'm sure we can take a couple of questions, because Colin's only going to take a minute and a half.
does it lead on from this IPL module? Does that vary?
Yes, in the second year they stay in the same groups and they work to create a poster for informing service users about a public health issue, and they reflect on that in a portfolio as well. Yeah, so it does carry on into the second year. Yeah.